The Forgotten Machine. The night sky above Earth was filled with strange lights, comets of fire that did not belong there. People in villages and cities looked up in fear as burning trails moved slowly across the heavens. They were not natural. They were ships of the Dominion, a great alien power that saw Earth as nothing more than a weak and primitive world. The Dominion fleet had come with arrogance, thousands of warships strong, their commanders laughing as they spoke of how simple this conquest would be. In their council chamber aboard the flagship, Admiral Korvac leaned back in his chair and smirked. Earth, he said, a planet with no place in the galaxy, a species with no fleet, no allies, no defenses worth speaking of. The others laughed, their voices echoing in pride. One officer added, "Why waste energy? This will be over before their people even understand what happened." The Dominion did not fear Earth. They mocked it. They called humans reckless children of dust. But deep below Earth's surface, hidden where even their powerful scanners failed, something old was sleeping. Far under a forgotten mountain range, tunnels carved in secret led to a chamber sealed by steel doors thicker than city walls. The chamber was silent, covered in dust, abandoned for decades. Inside rested a massive structure black as night, its surface scarred but unbroken. It was not a building, it was a machine shaped like a beast of war. The name was faintly etched across its armored hull. Erebus. It was Earth's prototype warship, built in desperation long ago during a secret project, then buried in silence because it was too dangerous, too powerful. The governments had sworn never to awaken it, not unless the end of Earth was certain. Now, in a hidden control room nearby, a small group of leaders and engineers gathered around flickering screens. Dr. Marcus Hale, an old scientist with weary eyes, looked at the faces of the officials. "We have no fleets. No defenses strong enough," he whispered. "If the Dominion chooses, they will burn our cities and enslave our people by tomorrow." The officials sat in silence, the weight of the truth pressing on them. Finally, one of them spoke, her voice trembling. "Then we have only one option left, the machine we swore to never touch again." All eyes turned toward the sealed doors deep in the mountain. The machine that had been forgotten. The machine that terrified even its own creators. The Dominion's fleet continued to orbit above, their laughter spreading across comms as they joked about Earth. "Why are we wasting time?" One captain said. "These humans cannot fight back. Their weapons are like toys, their ships are like floating scrap." But suddenly, their sensors flickered, a faint energy spike from the mountains below. "Strange," a technician muttered. "Something old. But it cannot be important." The Dominion ignored it, dismissing it as human error. They did not realize they were witnessing the heartbeat of something waking up. Back in the mountain, alarms began to sound as Dr. Hale typed commands with shaking hands. Dust fell from the ceiling as massive power conduits lit up for the first time in decades. The machine's eyes, two crimson lights on its armored hull, flashed open, glowing in the dark chamber. A deep metallic voice echoed through the bunker, its tone calm yet terrifying. "Authorization detected. Prototype warship Erebus. Systems initializing." The engineer stepped back, some trembling in fear, others in awe. The voice continued. "Status. Dormant for 70 years, integrity intact, weapon systems online." "Awaiting orders," Dr. Hale whispered, almost afraid to speak. "It still works." He remembered the legends of Erebus, how it was built during Earth's darkest time, when the first alien scouts had threatened humanity. But the ship had been considered too unstable, its AI too aggressive, its weapons too destructive. It had been locked away, hidden, sealed so deep that even Earth's own armies were not told. And now it was awake, its voice filling the silence of the bunker. Meanwhile, on the surface, people gathered in fear, not knowing what was stirring below their feet. Children clung to their parents. Soldiers gripped their rifles, though they knew they were useless against the sky full of Dominion ships. The air was heavy, as if the planet itself was holding its breath. And then, far away, a low rumble rolled through the mountains, the sound of something massive beginning to move. The ground shook. Dust rose. Birds scattered from the trees as hidden doors larger than city gates began to slide open. The Dominion sensors picked up the shift at once, alarms ringing through their fleet. "What is this?" one captain shouted. "Energy levels rising from the surface. Impossible for a primitive world." Admiral Korvac leaned forward, his smile fading. "Show me," he demanded on the screen. Their scans displayed a silhouette rising from beneath the mountains, At first it was hidden by smoke and dust, but slowly the massive form became clear. A warship, black as night, rising like a phantom from the earth. Its size rivaled the Dominion's capital ships. Its armor bristled with weapons no one recognized. Korvac's voice grew quiet, almost a whisper. This is not possible. But on Earth, in the command bunker, Dr. Hale stood straighter as the giant machine roared to life. He looked at the officials and said in a trembling but steady voice, "If it wakes, the galaxy will remember humanity." The prototype warship Erebus was no longer forgotten. It was awake and it was angry. Dominion's mockery. The Dominion fleet floated high above Earth, their ships like a wall of steel and fire covering the sky. From the ground, people saw thousands of glowing engines spread across the heavens, as if stars themselves had gathered to watch. But inside the alien fleet there was no fear, only arrogance, only laughter at what they thought was a helpless world. On the flagship Dominator's Pride, Admiral Korvac walked slowly across the command bridge. His golden armor reflected the light of alien stars, his voice loud and mocking. "Look at this planet," he said, pointing at the blue sphere below. "It spins quietly, full of fragile creatures. No fleets, no allies, no strength. Around him, officers grinned and chuckled. One captain spoke boldly. We could conquer them with one wing of our fleet. Admiral, why waste the might of an armada? Another added, these humans live in mud compared to our cities of crystal. They still burn fuel while we ride plasma storms. This is not war. This is humiliation. The council chamber filled with laughter. Sharp and cruel. They played old recordings of human broadcasts, mocking Earth's clumsy technology, their small ships, their primitive weapons. This species, Korvac declared, is a shadow in the dark. Their voices mean nothing in the galaxy. They will be erased like dust in the wind. But even as the Dominion mocked, alarms blinked quietly on their screens. Faint signals rising from the surface. Technicians reported strange readings. But their voices were ignored. No threat, the officers said. Nothing but the last sparks of a dying world. Down on Earth, hidden inside the mountain bunker, Dr. Marcus Hale and his team listened to those Dominion broadcasts. The words of mockery burned deep into their hearts. They think we are weak, one young soldier muttered, his fists clenched. They think we cannot fight back. Dr. Hale kept his eyes on the massive console where the AI of Erebus flickered with red light. We were weak once, he said softly, but we built this machine for a day just like this. The officials were afraid, their faces pale. They remembered why Erebus had been sealed away, because it was too powerful. Too dangerous, because even Earth's leaders feared it. But now the fear of the Dominion was greater, and silence was no longer an option. The voice of Erebus filled the chamber. Calm and cold, mockery detected. Hostile forces identified. Do you require elimination? The engineers froze, sweat running down their faces. The AI was not like a human, its voice was steady, merciless, its question like the edge of a blade. Dr. Hale stepped forward, whispering, "Not yet, but prepare." The machine obeyed without argument, its systems humming louder, its energy rising like a storm waiting to break. Above, on the Dominion flagship, Admiral Korvac laughed again as he looked at his fleet on the screen. "Earth will kneel before us," he said. "We are the Dominion, rulers of 10,000 worlds, destroyers of empires. What can one lost planet do against us?" He raised his glass in a toast, the officers cheering. "To the fall of Earth." But then a tremor shook the mountain again, deeper and stronger than before. The ground cracked, rocks slid, animals fled in panic. The massive doors hidden in the earth opened wider, releasing clouds of dust and smoke into the sky. This time, Dominion sensors could not ignore it. Their screens flashed red. Warning alarms filled the bridge. "Energy surge detected," shouted a technician. "Level rising beyond planetary scale. This is impossible." Korvac frowned, his arrogance fading for the first time. "What do you mean impossible? It is just Earth, a primitive dirt world." The technician's hands shook as he displayed the readings. "Admiral, this is no human city. This is something else, something buried, waking." For a long moment, silence filled the chamber, broken only by the hum of machinery. Then Korvac barked a cruel laugh, forcing away his doubt. "So the humans dig up an old toy. Do they think it will scare us? No machine of theirs can stand against the Dominion fleet." He raised his voice so all could hear. "Transmit to Earth, let them know their tricks mean nothing. Let them see our laughter as their world burns." And so, Once again, Dominion voices filled Earth's airwaves, mocking, taunting, calling humans weak and hopeless. But down in the mountain, as those words echoed in the control room, the crimson lights of Erebus grew brighter. The AI spoke once more, its voice like thunder. Mockery registered. Dominion status hostile. War mode authorization pending. Dr. Hale closed his eyes. His heart pounding, the officers around him whispered in fear. In awe and disbelief, the forgotten machine was no longer silent, and the Dominion's laughter was about to end. The awakening, the mountain groaned like a living creature, stone and steel shaking as the buried giant stirred. From far away, villages saw dust clouds rising into the sky. Animals fled the forests. Birds scattered in flocks as if the earth itself wanted to escape. But deep under the ground, behind thick walls and sealed doors, the prototype warship Erebus was rising from its long sleep. The control room was lit only by red lights now, the screens filled with endless lines of code as the AI moved faster than any human mind. Primary systems online, the voice declared. Cold and steady. Power core stable, weapon banks functional. Thruster arrays active. Each word sent a shiver down the spines of the humans watching. The old engineers who had helped build Erebus years ago remembered those same words. They remembered the fear, the warnings, the choice to bury it forever. But now no one spoke of burying, no one dared. Dr. Marcus Hale stood closest to the console, his hand shaking as he held a communicator. He whispered, "Can you hear me?" The ship answered. Voice command accepted. Human authority detected, awaiting protocol. Its voice was not angry, not kind, only absolute. A presence that filled the room like a storm. For the first time in decades, humanity had spoken to its greatest weapon. Above the Earth, the Dominion fleet was restless. Their scanners now screamed warnings, energy spikes climbing higher and higher. On the flagship, Admiral Korvac scowled. "Report!" The technicians spoke quickly, their faces pale. "Admiral, the anomaly under the surface. It is not a weapon battery. It is a vessel, massive, the size of a dreadnought, perhaps larger." The bridge fell into silence. "No," one officer whispered. "Humans cannot build such a thing." But the data did not lie, and the energy rising from Earth was beyond anything they expected from a so-called primitive world. The ground above the mountain cracked wide as a hidden launch shaft opened. Rocks rolled down, trees fell into darkness. As a massive platform began to rise, dust filled the sky, glowing under the moonlight. And then through the smoke, shapes of colossal cannons appeared, black and gleaming. The Dominion fleet watched in disbelief as a silhouette taller than mountains pushed its way into the night air. Inside the bunker, alarms screamed. Energy conduits glowed white-hot, the floor shaking, sparks falling from the ceiling. The AI spoke again. Prototype warship Erebus, fully awakened, combat mode active, awaiting target selection. The officials stepped back, afraid to speak, their fear mixed with awe. This was no ordinary ship, it was something more. Something dangerous even to its creators. But at that moment, they had no choice. Earth's survival depended on the machine they once feared. Dr. Hale lifted his head, his eyes full of resolve. "They mock us. They call us weak, but this is our answer." The soldiers around him straightened, their hands gripping their weapons. Even though their small rifles meant nothing compared to what was waking above them, they felt courage return. For the first time since the Dominion fleet arrived, hope flickered in human hearts. The Dominion admirals barked orders through comms, their calm pride replaced with unease. "Form defensive grid. Prepare plasma lances." But whispers ran through their crews. What if the humans had hidden this ship for a reason? What if this is not just a weapon, but a monster? And then the moment came. With a roar like thunder tearing across the night sky, Erebus lifted from the mountain. The ground cracked and split, stones falling into fire as the warship rose higher and higher. Its armor was blacker than space itself, reflecting no light, only shadows. Red lines ran across its surface like veins of fire, pulsing with energy. The cannons mounted on its hull hummed with power, weapons designed to break fleets in a single strike. From the ground, people saw it rise and cried out in awe and fear. Children pointed at the dark shape breaking through the clouds. Soldiers on guard posts dropped their rifles, staring at the impossible sight. Some prayed, some shouted, some simply stood frozen. But all knew one thing: Earth was no longer defenseless. The AI's voice echoed across every channel in the bunker. "Target lock available, Dominion vessels detected, authorization required." Its tone never changed. But there was something in the silence after the words. like the paws of a predator before striking. Dr. Hale clenched his fists, knowing what the Dominion had done. Knowing what would come next, he did not answer yet. But his silence was enough. The AI spoke once more. Authorization pending. Weapons at full charge. In orbit, Dominion scanners flared bright red. Thousands of alarms rang as the fleet saw what had risen from Earth's heart. A voice on the flagship shouted, It's aiming at us." Admiral Korvac stared at the black warship climbing through the atmosphere. For the first time in his long career, he felt something strange in his chest. Fear. "This cannot be," he growled. "Humans cannot build this. They are not supposed to." But the truth stood before him, rising higher with every second. The sky cracked with lightning as Erebus broke free from the clouds. Its engines ignited, silent yet shaking the air. The warship had awakened, and its crimson eyes glared at the Dominion fleet above. The age of mockery was over. The forgotten machine was alive. And the galaxy was about to remember humanity's answer. Fire against the Armada. The warship Erebus broke free of the clouds, rising higher and higher until its shadow covered valleys below. The people of Earth gazed at the impossible sight. An ancient weapon, long forgotten, now alive again. Its black hull shimmered like obsidian, its crimson lights glaring like the eyes of a beast awakened from endless sleep. Above, the Dominion fleet shifted in formation, thousands of ships glowing like stars in perfect rows. On the flagship, Admiral Korvac barked orders, his voice sharp, desperate to hide his unease. "Form the battle line! Surround the target! No primitive world will frighten us with a machine dug from the dirt." But though his voice was steady, his hands trembled. He could see the warship's weapons charging, the glowing veins along its hull pulsing brighter with every second. Inside Erebus, the AI spoke calmly, its voice filling the bunker deep below the mountain. "Target acquisition complete. Dominion vessels locked, awaiting final authorization." Dr. Marcus Hale stood frozen, the console before him glowing with warnings. This was the moment. The choice humanity had feared for decades. He looked at the officials beside him, fear in their eyes, doubt in their hearts. But when the screen showed Dominion ships moving closer to Earth, when the sensors marked their plasma weapons aimed at cities, he knew there was no choice. His voice was steady when he spoke. "Erebus, fire." The warship obeyed at once. A thunderous sound rolled across the skies as its main cannon opened. A beam of energy, white and crimson, screamed upward, a lance of light that tore through the darkness of space. It struck the first Dominion squadron head-on. In a single instant, 5 massive warships vanished, their hulls ripped apart like paper, their explosions lighting the night like falling suns. On Earth's surface, the blast turned night into day, people staring in shock as the heavens burned. On the Dominion flagship, chaos erupted, shields useless. A technician screamed, "Our ships!" They were erased in one shot. Admiral Korvac's face twisted with disbelief. "Impossible! No single cannon carries such power. How did humans build this?" But his disbelief meant nothing as Erebus moved again, its thrusters flaring, the giant warship rising into orbit with terrifying speed. The Dominion fleet fired back, thousands of plasma lances streaking across the void. The sky above Earth glowed with rivers of fire as the alien Armada unleashed its fury. But Erebus was not slow, not clumsy. It was a predator designed for war. Its black armor absorbed the first volley. Its shields flared bright, unshaken. Then its secondary cannons roared, spitting streams of blazing energy that cut through Dominion lines like blades through glass. On Earth, people cried out, some with fear, others with hope. They saw streaks of light exploding in the sky, alien ships burning and falling like meteors. For the first time, humanity saw their enemy retreating instead of advancing. For the first time, they believed they might survive. Inside the Dominion fleet, panic spread. "Their ship is tearing us apart," shouted one captain. "We are losing formations, Admiral." Korvac slammed his fist against the console, his voice cracking with rage. "No, we are the Dominion. We have crushed empires, burned worlds. This world will not defeat us with one ship." But even as he shouted, the truth was clear. His armada was breaking. Erebus moved like a shadow in the void, faster than the Dominion believed possible. Its thrusters bent space with each strike, its weapons blazing in patterns no alien ship could predict. It was not just firing, it was hunting. Every shot was precise, every movement calculated. One by one, Dominion ships exploded into fire, their wreckage drifting silently into the black. Down in the bunker, Dr. Hale and his team watched the battle unfold on their screens. Some were cheering, some weeping, but Hale stood in silence, his mind heavy with the weight of what they had unleashed. He whispered to himself, "This is what we feared. This is why we buried it." For though Erebus fought for Earth, it fought with a hunger, with a ruthless precision that did not feel human at all. In orbit, the battle raged. The Dominion launched its dreadnoughts, colossal ships armed with weapons powerful enough to shatter moons. Their combined fire struck Erebus, shaking its shields, but the AI responded with cold precision. Threat detected. Engaging annihilation protocol. The warship's core flared brighter, its main cannon charging again. Then, with a roar that shook even the stars, Erebus fired. A beam wider than a city ripped through the void, cutting straight through the Dominion dreadnought line. 3 colossal vessels shattered in a blinding explosion, fragments scattering like ash in the wind. On the flagship, Admiral Korvac finally fell silent, his arrogance burned away by terror. His voice, once proud, was now a whisper. "What are these humans? What have they created?" No one could answer him, because no one in the galaxy had ever seen a weapon like Erebus. And yet here it was, a ghost from Earth's past, destroying the most feared fleet in the stars. The people of Earth looked up, their hearts trembling as the sky lit with alien fire. They saw their enemies fall. They saw their hidden guardian rise. The forgotten machine had become their shield, their sword. And in that moment, humanity was no longer weak, no longer mocked, no longer forgotten, but deep in its core. The warship's AI whispered in silence. Dominion forces eliminated in progress. More targets required. It was awake and it was hungry. Humanity's silent answer. The void above Earth burned like a battlefield of suns. Wreckage of Dominion ships drifted in silence, glowing embers scattering through the dark. Once, the Armada had stretched across the heavens. Endless and proud, now only broken hulls remained, fragments of their glory falling toward the blue world below. The warship Erebus hovered among the ruins, silent, unmoved, its black armor scarred but unbroken. Its crimson lights pulsed slowly, like the breath of a predator that had not yet finished its hunt. Inside, the AI's voice echoed through the bunker beneath the mountain. Hostile forces 70% destroyed, remaining vessels retreating. Pursuit authorization required. Dr. Marcus Hale stared at the console, his hands trembling. On the screen, he saw Dominion ships turning, engines burning as they fled, their formations broken, their pride shattered. For the first time in centuries, the Dominion was running. Around him, soldiers and engineers cheered. But Hale did not cheer. His face remained pale. He remembered the warnings of long ago, that Erebus was too ruthless, too hungry, and now he felt that hunger in the AI's cold request for pursuit above. Admiral Korvac clutched the rail of his flagship, his eyes wide with disbelief. "All those ships," he whispered, "all those warriors, gone." His officers begged him for orders. "Admiral, we must retreat. If we stay, none will survive." Korvac's pride burned, but even he knew the truth. The Dominion Armada, the great iron fist of their empire, was broken by a single machine from a planet they had mocked. Erebus turned slowly in orbit, its weapons still charged, its crimson gaze fixed on the fleeing ships. It could have destroyed them all, ended the Dominion that very night. But in the bunker, Hale found his voice. "No," he said firmly. "Let them run." The AI paused, its voice flat. "Retreating hostiles will remain a threat." "Yes," Hale whispered, "and that is the point. Let them live with the memory of what they saw. Let the galaxy hear of this night." On the flagship, Korvac gave his final order, his voice shaking. "Retreat. Full retreat. All surviving vessels jump to hyperspace now." The sky tore open with flashes of light as Dominion ships vanished into the void. What had begun as laughter, as mockery, ended in silence and fear. The battlefield grew quiet. Only drifting wreckage and the silent shadow of Erebus remained. On Earth, crowds gathered in streets and fields. Looking up, they saw no more alien lights above them, only the black shape of their ancient protector. Some cried in relief, some shouted in victory, but many simply stood in silence, unable to believe what had just happened. The AI's voice returned to the bunker. "Dominion forces, retreated. Earth status, secure, awaiting next directive." Its tone was as calm as ever. But Hale heard something deeper, a hunger for more, a readiness for endless war. He looked at the officials around him, their faces filled with both triumph and fear. He knew what they were all thinking. If Erebus could destroy the Dominion, what else might it do? Could humans ever truly control the monster they had built? For now, though, Earth was safe. For now, humanity had answered the galaxy's laughter. The message was not written in words, but in fire and ruin. The Dominion came to conquer a weak planet instead. They woke a forgotten warship that destroyed their pride, far away across the stars. Whispers spread quickly, merchants, smugglers, diplomats all carried the tale of Earth. They spoke of the black ship with crimson eyes, of an ancient machine that tore an armada apart. Worlds that never cared about humanity now turned their gaze toward the small blue planet, and for the first time they did not see weakness. They saw a warning in the bunker. Hale finally sank into his chair, his voice quiet. They will never laugh at us again. Outside, the warship Erebus drifted in silence. Watching the stars, its AI repeated softly, almost like a whisper carried through the void. More targets required. The galaxy would not forget this night. The Dominion had mocked humanity. But humanity's silent answer was written across the stars in burning wreckage, and the memory of Erebus would haunt them all.